in the last years. So we're launching a research network as well as technology-based solution, like a wearable device or an app for a smartphone that's going to help motivate that parent child into actions that's to help bridge the gap. Now, certainly technology is not a whole solution to it, but it definitely could play a role, and we believe that this price challenge could be a new way for us to really drive innovations in the small child health. Also launching an initiative around rural child poverty. You all know that 1 in 4 kids growing up in rural America is growing up poor, and the reason we're involved is that if we really want to do something about poverty in this country, we've got to start early, recognizing that a healthy brain is probably the child's best ticket out of poverty. So again, working with various federal partners across departments. In fact, the first meeting that I had at the White House on this issue, my cabinet secretary showed up. And what we're really trying to do is to approach it, to take a more comprehensive approach, take a two-generation approach, helping kids thrive by helping their kids to break that intergenerational cycle of poverty. So let me just talk about one more program that we've innovated and transformed. In fact, this is really the first program that I transformed after I got to NCHB, and this is a program for children with epilepsy. And so this is about 2 months after I started my job, and I saw this draft funding opportunity announcement on my desk with a little sticky note that said, no, we're a little late on this. This should have been posted 2 weeks ago. Could you please sign it? And I said, well, so I get you read it first. This program's been going on for a while. It's funded at over $1 million a year. So I asked the project officer to come in, and I asked her, so it's been going on for a decade. What impact has it had? What difference has it made? So the project officer told me, well, we don't really know because we haven't been doing the evaluation. I said, well, at least tell me how many kids we're serving. That's a pretty reasonable question. She said, well, we haven't been collecting that data. And so I said, I was going to find this SOA until I get some data. So she went back to the NC. They went back and forth for several weeks. She came back and she said, well, we think maybe 25, but we're not quite sure if these are duplicate kids. I said, are you kidding me? For $1 million, I can fly a neurologist on a private jet to do home visits for cheaper. So we canceled the program and we decided to completely adapt. Now, for many of the kids with complex seizure disorders, especially if they're living in rural communities, underserved communities, that they often technology and innovation can help to change the pace and quality of care for expectant mothers and developing children. It's been a great day so far. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. There's a huge amount of scientific research and innovation happening, certainly across the board for those areas of expectant mothers and for developing children. Like this discussion is really focused in on how we can harness technologies, innovations, inventions, and it will include illustrious speakers from Google Verily, from our own Stanford by Design program, which also from Philadelphia. And really the individuals you're about to hear from will help to showcase how these kinds of technological innovations can really impact change. The first speaker today will be Tom Insel from Verily, Google's Verily. He has led the research field on the National Institute of Mental Health for well over a decade, leading change, driving change, and funding research projects in the area of mental health, child development. And we've had the great fortune recently of being able to, or at least Google has had the great fortune of recently recruiting him from his directorship at NIMH over to Google to help lead some of the programs that Verily was historically Google Sciences division. So without further ado, I'd like to bring Tom up to the stage. I'm very excited to have him, and of course, hear his perspective on technology and their impact on mental health.
Great, thanks very much, Dennis.
expert on mothers and children, except father and grandfather. Everything I know about that topic I've learned through my own children and grandchildren. I'm not an expert on technology. I'm actually kind of a technical and techno-cynic, but I'm learning, and I'm, in some ways, I think I'm helpful to Google as an early because I don't believe most of the hype that one reads about. And that's actually good because I think we're at a point where we have some really cool gizmos, but whether they actually have an impact on care is a question that still remains to be answered, at least for the most part. What I'd like to do is to talk about a different part of development, which is mostly to try to convey to you that one of our biggest public health problems are mental disorders, and that those can be thought of actually as developmental or neurodevelopmental disorders, something that hasn't come up much today. I'll start with this slide that gives you a sense of the public health burden. DALYs are disability-adjusted life years. It's a composite measure of both morbidity and mortality. So it's putting together premature death along with years lost to disability to get a single metric that's becoming intended only an economist would love. But it's helpful because it allows you to compare across different areas of medicine to get some sense of what are the big drivers for disability. And in this case, as you can see, neuropsychiatric disorders actually outpace cardiovascular disorders, cancer, which you actually can't see on your read this here. I'm sorry about that. Musculoskeletal disorders and endocrine diseases, including diabetes. What's perhaps more striking is when you look at the life course of this, it's not only that these are the most disabling disorders, but they're clearly the most disabling early in life. So see this, that before age 50, the disability from mental disorders is actually greater than all other medical disorders in your mind. That's extraordinary. We shouldn't think about that. But in fact, the big killers, cancer, heart disease, stroke, are disorders that late stages of life. And when you think about what are the medical problems for people under 50, it's really this. Now it's actually beyond just being under 50. When you look and you talk to adults with these disorders, as it says here, 75% report onset before age 25, 50% before age 14. And the numbers are sort of extraordinary. When you look at youth and children, you're talking about almost 3 times more people almost affected with mental disorders than asthma, far more than juvenile or type 1 diabetes, and certainly much more than cancer. They don't get much attention in this way. We don't think about this as much as a public health problem that also has behavioral health, behavioral disorders. The world of people who take care of those with mental illness are usually not medically trained, and they may be actually seen in the criminal justice system. They may be seen among the homeless, they may be seen in a whole range of social service agencies. But even though you've got such an extraordinary public health problem, it's largely outside of healthcare. Just to give you a feeling for the actual different disorders we're talking about. Usually when people think about neurodevelopmental, they're thinking autism, ADHD. But what I want to convey to you is that this whole range of illnesses, like schizophrenia or mood disorders or anxiety disorders, are all neurodevelopmental. That is, they're starting at a time when the brain is still developing, and their onset alters the trajectory of brain development. And that's why I think it's so important to think about this developmental context. The question is, we almost always think of it as an adult disorder. Look at this. I mean, we actually haven't been so aware of this. I mean, the peak time of onset is between ages 13 and 15 or 13 and 18, where you can see the highest bars there. And the numbers are really quite extraordinary. That about 1 in 5 adolescents will have a depressive episode before age 18. Really remarkable numbers that remind us how serious this problem is. Now, what I'd like to share with you today very quickly is the good news that science is taking us in a very different direction than when we think about these illnesses. And it is not only helping us to think of them as neurodevelopmental, but it's helping us to think of mental disorders as brain disorders and disorders within fundamental biology. And it's suggesting that technology can make a difference. So I'm going to take you through each of these opportunities. We'll do them one at a time. And first, just to kind of set the stage for this, look at where we've come in the last decade. This is a slide that I adapted from Francis Collins. Changed the numbers a little bit to bring them more up to date. But it's kind of an extraordinary story that I don't think the public fully appreciates. The cost and the time to sequence the human genome has plummeted over the last decade from $22 million per genome to under $10,000 per genome. We're able to now record hundreds of cells at a time instead of where we were a decade ago, which was doing at most 16 or sometimes 96 cells in a very special way in vivo. Smartphones now output 190 million and counting, 2 billion worldwide, really a revolution in what technology might be able to deliver in terms of the conveyance of information. And of course, computing power, following Moore's law, has gone up about 32-fold in that time. Now, the version of Moore's law we like to show is the blue line here. This gives you a sense of how things have changed for the microprocessor industry here in Silicon Valley, and it has in fact since 1965 pretty much followed the predictions of Gordon Moore that we've given out a doubling of processing power every 18 to 24 months. So take a look at that red line, which is the reduction in costs for genomic sequencing. I said going from 20 million to 2,000. You can get a sense of that over this very rapid period in the mid-2000s as things began to plummet. And the result was that suddenly we were able to identify genetic associations with many of the psychiatric disorders. It really took off just about the time that genomic sequencing became cheap. And it took off partly because we put together large repositories of DNA in patients who were very carefully described. We're now up to nearly 1 million samples across 9 disorders. This is a wonderful international effort involving 32 countries, sharing data, sharing ideas, and sharing the results as well, to be able to give us a sense of where the findings are. When you look at those findings, it's really quite surprising that the candidates that all of us had expected for schizophrenia or autism or depression were the ones that were tied to medicines that we have been using. So people are looking at genes associated with serotonin and dopamine. There have now been hundreds of findings, as I showed you in that previous slide, and it seems to have just about every system you can imagine except for serotonin and dopamine. It still seems to show up anywhere in these unbiased approaches to figuring out what might be the underlying risk architecture for these disorders. But the candidates that you come forward are really interesting. They're largely developmental genes, the genes that are expressed in the brain specifically, usually in the second trimester, sometimes in a big way in the third trimester. The ADCs are not expressed in the brain so much in adulthood. But it's very interesting to help us realize when you look at the genomics, you're being pointed towards pathways that are either really important for brain function or pathways important for neurodevelopment. Without taking a lot more time to tell you this, I wanted to just kind of summarize what I think are the kind of key messages that we can now understand about this. The first is that this is a story about risk and not cause. The genetics of mental illnesses or neurodevelopmental disorders is going to be remarkably complex. It's not what we might have thought a decade ago where we're looking for a single gene that would explain what causes one person to get schizophrenia and not another. There so far, we said 108. We're still at the very beginning. Genes that have been shown to have variants associated with risk for schizophrenia. The actual number is likely to be hundreds. It will probably be a little bit like height. It will be the result of many genetic variations working together. But what they do is they bias towards a particular set of cognitive features or a particular way that people may perceive the world. And then it has a lot to do with the environment, especially the environment during development, that determines how that bias plays out. So this is about risk. It's not about determination or cause. It's very clear that the genomics is teaching us about the importance of timing. As I mentioned, most of the variants that have been of greatest interest are ones that may be expressed in the brain, specifically during development. And that tells us that we have to be thinking about how this plays out over time. That having a developmental perspective, even for understanding genomic impact, is going to be critical. And finally, something that you don't hear much about, but I think we all have to keep in mind, is that there's some medicines. Where cells replicate more quickly than in the second and early third trimester of development in the human brain. So you can look, as we have done, for DNA variations that are associated with these diseases in blood, but they could be very different in brain. And you have to remember that at the end of the day, we have no way of doing this in living tissue, that brain DNA can be quite different than blood DNA. Move on to the next revolution, which I think is in neuroscience. This is the era of the brain. There's been lots of excitement about this. And you've heard a little bit about this in the previous talk around magic white matter. It's called the Connectome. The Human Connectome Project is a very interesting effort that's been underway for about 6 years now to take a large number of subjects, in this case, maybe 1,500, 1,200 healthy individuals who volunteer and very, very extensive imaging of their brains. These are people who have had all of these different modalities to look at structure and function and chemistry, even sometimes molecular imaging, along with lots of other tests of their cognition, their personality, genomics, a whole range of things. And all of this has created this wonderful public project called the Human Connectome Project, with all of the data being made public, and it's made public as they've gone along. So they released the first 100, the first 500, they released 900 about 3 months ago, and they'll be releasing the entire data set, which is now complete, in the next few months. It's a fantastic opportunity to look at kind of a reference atlas in the same way the Human Genome Project gave us that picture of what does the human genome look like, and not only how is it different from a mouse, but how is it different between each of us, what's the kind of normal range of variation. We're doing the same thing here with the Human Connectome Project, getting a sense of structure and function and how it differs between two individuals. Unfortunately, this movie isn't showing for the kinds of things that it's already told us, is that there are these very interesting relationships between distant areas of the brain, real estate that we have no way of thinking would be connected, that are showing up, particularly with the brain at rest. And so it's given us, in terms of these functional connections, entirely new insights already into how the brain might be organized and how information may be encoded. So it's still early days with this, but a very exciting time. Now, imaging the developing brain is quite a challenge, but people are now undertaking that challenge in a number of different ways. I want to take just a moment to tell you a little bit about that. The figures on the right, the images are from the top row, neonates, the second row, the 1-year-olds, and the third row are 2-year-olds. And it's looking at what's called the default network, which is just the brain at rest. The curious thing about this is that when you look at brain activity with fMRI, the time when you see the most activity is when the brain is, quote, at rest. Unlike any other organ, that's when there's the greatest metabolic activity, the greatest general sense of involved real estate, let's say. And then it goes away when you challenge and give a task, because areas take off and the brain begins to focus in. But you can begin to see that process develop, and that's what the studies are on the right-hand side of the slide. The left is a wonderful image from Rebecca Sachs at MIT, who's been studying this very development and put down a social context and how mother-infant interactions can alter the pathways for brain development. The story I wanted to tell you is one that's actually just come out this week, and I think it's a really extraordinary story about how we can now begin to study brain development in young children. It's from Patricia Kuhl's lab at the University of Washington in Seattle. And what it has been doing for many, many years is trying to understand language acquisition and the difference between monolingual and bilingual families. And what she's done here is to take 11-month-olds who are not yet speaking and put them into this big scanner, magnetic encephalography scanner. You can see that one picture in the upper right hand there of an 11-month-old very happily in this non-invasive, absolutely quiet instrument, which looks like it's something from the 22nd century perhaps. And what they've done then is to play syllables while the baby is in there. NMR, which is what you see in the legend for this figure, it means the mismatched responsivities of playing either English or Spanish syllables. And when they switch from English to Spanish, they're looking at the brain's response. And what they're showing in a very interesting way is that at 11 months, kids who have grown up in a bilingual family and have been exposed to both English and Spanish are processing English and Spanish differently, which I find kind of remarkable that they can only do that. But they're also not only identifying the difference in the language, they're identifying both English and Spanish syllables as linguistic, and they're beginning to separate them out and respond accordingly in a way that doesn't happen for a monolingual family. So what Pat and her team is interested in doing is using brain imaging, in this case with MEG, magnetic encephalography, to begin to look at this process of which languages get acquired in the brain, not only behaviorally but now in terms of neural pathways. It's really an extraordinary opportunity because kids at this point can't tell you what's going on in their heads, but you can begin to get a little bit of glimpse into that black box. So where are we in the case of neuroscience? Well, I would say that there's a question that we have a sense of how the brain develops structurally and functionally. We still have lots of unanswered questions there, but what's remarkable is to realize that this process of brain development goes on well into the 20s. This is one of the reasons why insurance companies don't let anybody under 25. They realize that the frontal cortex isn't quite there until age 26. We spent a lot of money at NIH proving that because they asked person and found out the answer much more quickly. Increasingly, we've begun to use these tools to identify that there are circuits that are altered in mental illnesses, and we still call it mental illness or behavioral disorders. These are, in fact, brain illnesses. The difference from neurological illnesses like ALS or Parkinson's or Alzheimer's is we're not talking here about dead cells. We're talking about circuitry. Sometimes people call these connectopathies. There's a problem in the connections and the functional relationships within the brain. But indeed, the results are no different than if you were to compare having a myocardial infarction where you killed off a bunch of heart tissue and having an arrhythmia. These are essentially the arrhythmias of the brain. And with these kinds of tools, we're able to finally see that. And it's been just remarkable to use the tools we have now to understand plasticity and resilience in a way that none of us could imagine. The brain is this extraordinary resilient organ. And in fact, what we've come to learn is that most of the time that you have a brain illness with symptoms, you've had problems for years and years and years, and it's the emergence of symptoms to the point where the compensation is breaking down. It's not when the problem itself first develops. And that's an important insight because it tells you that when you see a change with neural imaging, that might not be the lesion, that might be the opportunity or the attempt of the brain to compensate for that lesion. Let's finish up by saying a little bit about technology, which is, I think, really what Dennis was hoping to hear about. And I'll take you through this in a couple of different ways. I think there's just so much to say here. It's such an interesting time because it's still really just unfolding for us. It's been phenomenal to realize that in spite of technology revolutionizing entertainment and information and banking and commerce and so many other things in our society, it really hasn't had the impact on healthcare that one might have expected. And why that is, we can talk about. It's many reasons, I think. It doesn't say that it's not to say that it won't have that impact. I think we just haven't really yet found that the sweet spot where this is going to work. I'll give you a few kinds of stories that just remind us of what we can do today very quickly. This is an old story, more than a decade old, about Iris Murdoch, a famous author from the UK, who wrote some 20 or so novels in her lifetime. And became developed Alzheimer's disease late in her 70s. So continued to write. And her final novel, which is called Jackson's Dilemma, is shown with the triangles there. This is the one that she wrote long before she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, but at a time when she was already showing manifestations of very subtle manifestations. One wasn't picked it up clinically. She probably didn't pick it up personally, but you can see it by analyzing the text of this novel. Really extraordinary. What it shows is that if you have the emergence of new words as you go through the book, going from 10 to 20 to 30 to 40,000 words that have been written, and you identify when new words come up, you can see in her first one, her earlier novels, Under the Net, The Sea, there was a continued trajectory that went on even as she got into the much later parts of the book. But that begins to break down in the earliest stages of Alzheimer's. She was diagnosed some 4 or 5 years later. But I put this up because it tells us that there are really interesting behavioral manifestations or cognitive manifestations that are out there all the time that we don't often take advantage of. Text analysis is fast now, it's cheap, and it's highly accurate and allows you to do these kinds of techniques. Is this a diagnostic for early Alzheimer's? Well, not everybody is a novelist, so it probably could be that useful, but it gives you some sense of the opportunities that could be out there and think differently. Here's another example of the same sort of thing, and unfortunately, because the animation is off, you can't see this, but search term, I just did this, I think, last weekend. I put in suicide as a cause of death into Google search, and I got this peak in August of 2014, and the quiz question was what happened that week. And as you can see from the answer at the bottom, it was the week that Robin Williams killed himself. There is an enormous amount of information that can be mined out of search. These search trend analyses, any one of us can do it. This is one of the options that are sitting there within Google search. And you can put in your favorite term, your favorite question, and within seconds go through billions of data points to get an answer like this. That tells you something about what's happening in society at a given point in time. It allows you to follow that. Lots of devices on the market. There's your EKG machine in the upper left, your otoscope in the upper right. On the bottom left is a contact lens that's not yet available, but it's being developed by my company, Verily.